Good morning, Anchor Point kids. My name is Auntie Jill, and I was wondering, have you ever been a part of a group project at school sometime? Like maybe there was one person that had to be in charge of making a poster for the group project, and somebody else might have to write a speech that related to the project, and maybe it was your job to make up like a PowerPoint. And let's pretend you guys all worked on this project together really hard, and on the day of the big project, and this is a big project, right? Like this project is worth 300 points in your class. So it's a pretty big project. And you wanted to make sure that like you looked nice, you had a nice outfit on, made sure you combed your hair before you went to school. And then you get to school on the day of the big project and nobody else from your team is there with you. And so you kind of start to worry, like, where are they? What happened? And then it's time to go to class, and it's time to present your big project, and they're not there. And you have to do the project all by yourself. Oh my goodness, that would be very hard, wouldn't it? And you might even be a little upset with your teammates for not showing up on the day of the big project. Well, in our lesson today, Paul is in prison. If you remember, he's still in prison. And when he's in prison, one of the things that he had to do was go to court and plead his case in front of the court. And so when Paul went to prison, in Paul's day, when he went to prison, normally other people would come to court and vouch for Paul. And what that meant is that they would say that Paul is a great guy. He should not be in jail. Like, you should let him out. And so on the day that Paul went to court to plead his case, do you know what happened? No one showed up to go to court with Paul and help plead his case. But it is a little bit understandable because many of us, being a Christian in Rome at this time was very difficult. And many of us have heard about this leader, this very evil leader in Rome called Nero. And Nero did some very evil and horrible things to Christians during this time when Paul is in prison and during this time in Rome. And so for a Christian to step up and go to court and say that, yes, they support Paul, who was a very outspoken Christian, would mean certain death for them. See, Nero did some horrible things to the Christians. Like they would have a big arena and they would put starving lions down in that arena, and then they would have the Christians, they'd pin the Christians into the arena with the starving lions and see how long they could survive. And then they would sell tickets and people would come and watch, and they would watch Christians being tortured. And that was so bad. So to be a Christian and be willing to step up and go to court and say that you support this very outspoken Christian would mean certain death for you. And it wouldn't just mean death, but it would mean a horrible death for you. And so Paul was compassionate and understood why the Christians in Rome weren't able to come to court and be there with him. But Paul was super duper brave. On that very scary day that he went to court, he said that he could do this because he knew that Jesus was right there with him. In fact, he tells us in chapter 4, verse 17, Paul says, "The Lord stood with me and gave me the strength that I might preach the good news in its entirety to all the Gentiles." Wow, that is really brave of Paul to do that in court on that day. And do you know what happened to Paul? Because he preached the gospel to all the Gentiles right there? Well, he tells us in the rest of the verse, and this is what Paul said. He said, "God rescued me from certain death." Wow, Paul is really brave, isn't he? And did you know that Paul did not even get mad at those other Christians in Rome for not coming to court with him on that day? And we know that because at the end of Paul's letter, he's writing to Timothy, and this is the last letter that Paul ever wrote. This is the last that we have of Paul's writings before he is killed for being a Christian. And Paul says at the end of his letter that he sends the love of the brothers and sisters in Rome to Timothy, and that the brothers and sisters in Rome are sending their love to Timothy. And he even mentions some of Timothy's friends by name in the Bible. And so that is really cool. And so to wrap things up today, I would like to read a quote for you from this book. It's called Jesus Freak, and it's written by DC Talk and Voice of the Martyrs. And so I just want to read this quote for you. And it says, "Don't underestimate what you, as one person, can do. God will work through anyone who is submitted to him, of any age, to accomplish his will here on earth. Just look at what Moses discovered. If one man or woman is willing to obey God, it can change the destiny of millions." Wow. And so my challenge for you guys this week is, first of all, to think about, am I submitted to God? And if I am, what does he want me to do today? Does he want me to show love to someone? Or is there someone he wants me to tell a God story to? So I want you to really think about that this week. And to wrap things up, I have one more quote for you, because we couldn't leave this topic without quoting one man that has been a big inspiration to me. And that man is D.L. Moody. And he said, "The world has yet to see what God can do through a man or a woman who is totally yielded to him." And I would agree with D.L. Moody when he said, "By the grace of God, I will be that person." Thank you guys so much for listening to my lesson. And I challenge you this week, boys and girls, to go out there and be the person that God created you to be. Thank you for listening to my lesson, and I hope you have a great rest of the week.